So we have been exploring how to start a creative work. Beethoven's process of writing a music piece was intense, methodical, and dramatically different from Mozart's. Mozart composed fluidly and mentally with very few corrections. Beethoven's was relentless in its revision and correction, wrestling with his ideas over very long periods of time. Beethoven usually began with short musical ideas or motifs. These were brief, rhythmic or melodic cells, like the famous four-note motif in his Fifth Symphony. These small fragments, they sowed the seeds for what he built into entire movements. So he would also do extensive sketching and journaling. He kept notebooks with him constantly and filled them with sketches, experiments, and revisions. And his surviving sketchbooks show his pages are crowded with crossed out themes, multiple versions of the same passage, gradual evolution of ideas from rough drafts to final forms. So this would take him months and even years. Once Beethoven was confident in the musical architecture, he would proceed to write full scores. Even then, he would continue revising, sometimes altering the orchestration, the dynamics, the articulations after hearing the work performed. From his late 20s onwards, Beethoven began to lose his hearing, and this dramatically would affect his process. He relied more heavily then on his internal hearing, adopting Mozart's method. He composed, surprisingly, some of his most revolutionary music. For example, the string quartets and the Ninth Symphony, when he was almost completely deaf. So let's take a look at Beethoven in a little more detail. Ludwig van Beethoven is born December 1770 in Bonn, in Germany. His exact birth date is unknown, but he was baptized on that date. At the time, babies were usually baptized the day after their birth. Beethoven's father was a musician and a harsh disciplinarian who wanted his son to be a child prodigy like Mozart. He forced young Ludwig to practice for hours, sometimes dragging him out of bed to play the piano for guests. This difficult upbringing had a lasting impact on Beethoven's personality and emotional struggles. He was known to be stubborn, passionate, and fiercely independent. He had a very hot temper and could be difficult to get along with, and would often clash with patrons, publishers, and even his friends. However, he also had a deep capacity for love, humor, and loyalty to those that he trusted. Despite his musical genius, he was very awkward in social settings. He had trouble maintaining these relationships and sometimes would seem quite rude and unkempt. He never married, though he documented falling in love several times. Many were romantic interests with aristocratic women whom he couldn't marry due to the social class differences. In his final years, Beethoven's health worsened, and he suffered from liver disease, lead poisoning, and other ailments. He died in March in 1827 at the age of 56 in Vienna. And if we look at Beethoven's process, we find it's iterative in that it is full of sketches and revisions. It's architectural, and it's concerned with structure, contrast, and development. It's emotional and philosophical, often expressive of deep personal or universal themes. Where Mozart was intuitive and immediate, Beethoven was a builder and a problem solver, forging his music through effort, imagination, and persistence. Let us take a look at how novels begin and use a few examples. Let's take a psychological or an emotional start, and I'm going to use The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. I am an invisible man. It's simple yet loaded with meaning. It speaks to identity, race, and alienation in just 6 words. Let's take a start with mid-crisis, and I'm going to use Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson. We were somewhere around Barstow on the edge of the desert when the drugs began to take hold. It drops you into chaos. It's disorienting, but that is the point. Reflective. I'm going to use A River Runs Through It by Norman MacLean. In our family, there was no clear line between religion and fly fishing. It's warm, nostalgic, and poetic, setting the tone for the story about family, nature, and philosophy. A start that has a secret or a puzzle involved. I'm going to use The Secret History by Donna Tartt. The snow in the mountains was melting, and Bunny had been dead for several weeks before we understood the gravity of our situation. You're instantly asking, who is Bunny? And what happened? And why does it matter now? Let's take another start that is drawn from ordinary family life that has a hook, and I'm going to use To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. When he was nearly 13, my brother Jem got his arm badly broken at the elbow. It seems small, but it's the thread that unravels a deeper story of justice and childhood. Let's take another beginning that is just blunt, honest. And I'm going to use Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. All children, except one, grow up. It has a dreamy, mythical tone and a deep idea wrapped in a simple sentence. A beginning that is stylish and sophisticated. I'm going to use I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. I write this sitting in the kitchen sink. Quirky, charming, and odd enough to make you wonder, who is this narrator? Let's start with a crime. I'm going to use Stormfront by Jim Butcher. The corpse lacked a head, and the rest of it wasn't exactly photogenic. It sets the tone of gritty noir fantasy with a touch of dark humor. These beginnings, I hope, will help you with yours. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Otherwise, bye for now.